I was thinking the same thing.
Charlene, you're gonna do pledge for us, right? Okay.
It'd be an honor. Oh, wait.
Yeah, right.
I gotta call the order.
No one from you.
There we go. More technology than Best Buy in the stables, I swear. Oh, look, they spread out, finally. I thought there was something wrong with that side of the room. You really was.
Wanted to even the keel.
We'll need to phase 1C of the library plan, just even off the floor. Like a wine. In 5, 4, 3, 2.
Text her right now. Yeah, you're welcome. It's in reverse. You shut it off?
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Charlene Dubuque.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the first ordinary meeting of March for the Village of Ballston Spa Trustees. This is going to start tonight with public hearings galore, breaking a personal record, I think, 2 in one night. So first things first, I will read the notice for public hearing number 1. And making sure I got the right one. It is, yes. Village of Ballston Spa, notice of public hearing to consider adoption of local law. Notice is hereby given pursuant to section 20 of the municipal home rule law of the state of New York that a public hearing will be held by the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ballston Spa on March 11, 2024 at 7:01 p.m. at the Ballston Spa Public Library located at 21 Milton Avenue, Ballston Spa, New York, for the purpose of considering the adoption of local law number 1 of 2024. If adopted, local law number 1 of 2024 would add chapter 150 parks to the code of the Village of Ballston Spa. Public are permitted to attend and provide comments above location pursuant to Open Meetings Law 103. Written comments on local law number 1 of 2024 can be submitted to the village clerk up and through the time of the public hearing. A copy of proposed local law number 1 of 2024 can be obtained at the village offices and on the village's website. So we'll open right at 7:01 p.m. Anybody who'd like to speak, 5 minutes at the podium over there. Anybody in Zoom, this is the correct time to raise your hand if you have something to say while people speak here, if they choose to speak here. No hands in the house? No hands on Zoom? Going once, going twice? Got to get a motion to close the public hearing at 7:02 p.m. Trustee Fondaza, Trustee Price-Bush, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. We'll wait 3 minutes for local law number 2. In the meantime, however, we will go to our minutes portion and go back to the 7:05 p.m. public hearing. Can I get a motion that the minutes of February 19, 2024 special meeting be approved? Trustee Fandesa, trustee Price Bush, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion that the minutes of the February 26, 2024 meeting be approved? Trustee Fandesa, trustee Price Bush, discussion.
Hello, I had some comments that I sent you guys. So you want me to?
Are you requesting an amendment?
Yes. Yes, I am. Want me to read what I'm requesting? Okay. I mean, if you've read it and you agree, we can just vote, or else we can talk about it.
Are you inclined to accept the amendment?
Well, what I'm saying, I'm thinking there's a way to simplify it. The first portion was well parked. At the end of where it says modified path layout, Baskin also asked for it to be made public. You can just say that simply with a simple sentence. And
Well,
then-
just to respond to that comment, the reason I put it on the agenda was Well Park, and the reason and the main point I wanted to have there was that I thought it was ready to be put before the public. So what I'm asking the edit to be, it doesn't have to be this long, but basically the whole point of the conversation was, and this is in the conversation on the recorded minutes, trustee Baskin asked that the latest diagram be made available to the public and solicit a last round of comments based on this version to finalize the basic layout so we can have the next version of diagram approved for next meeting. So that was sort of my goal with the conversation last time. And what happened was Frank and Bernadette, you guys wanted to have additional iterations of the plan before releasing to the public, although BSBPA has seen this 3 times at this point. But that was my main point. So I'd like it to go ahead of, so what you said is fine, but I'd like to get it to go ahead of whatever the details were that I shared about the park itself.
Well, are we recreating a conversation in the manner in which it happened in the time, place, and manner?
What I wrote as suggested addition to the minutes is pretty much exactly what I said at the meeting.
So what I'm willing to do is Baskin shared some highlights of the draft while asking for it to be made public. Then,
Okay, that's fine.
okay,
Okay,
And
so
then-
that you'll accept. Will
I'll
you accept
accept
that as
that part.
amendment? And Mary, will you accept that as amendment? Okay, so that is
That's
solidified.
the first part.
An additional amendment being sought?
Yeah, again, the whole core of the conversation I'd like to have briefly represented in the minutes. It said trustee Baskin continued to express frustration, period. But that doesn't really explain what's going on. So what I'd like added to that is that trustee Baskin continued to express frustration that he had been interrupted, which he believed violated the rules of procedure. That was the issue, not the tabling. And if that other piece isn't in there, it looks like I'm objecting to the tabling itself, which I wasn't. It was just the timing of the table.
I think frustration. Let's see. Well, here's the thing, you submitted a full comment, a full statement that's attached to the minutes. So would you accept express frustration, which were outlined in a statement? Because you've already put it out in full length, which is included. Everybody saw it today. It was included in our attachments. Just say.
How about we just add that he had been interrupted, period? Because maybe people don't read the attachment, or something, the attachment gets lost or whatever.
I think there's a difference of opinion how that went down, but
Well, we're talking about me here. Trustee continued to express frustration, so I can talk about why I was frustrated because it's talking about me. And so I can tell you definitively the frustration was due to the fact that I had been interrupted. And I said that. repeatedly.
I'm willing to accept at, pointing out to your comments.
Because the statement already is mentioned once, right?
No. Well, it says Baskin read statement attached. So I think in the body of the minutes, when someone has a point to make, if it can be briefly stated what that point is, it should be included. Why would it not be included? And to say simply trustee Baskin continued to express frustration, period, doesn't explain anything about what the topic is, the content. So I'm asking for 1, 2, 3, 5 words to be added, that he had been interrupted, period. And I can get rid of which he believed violated the rules of procedure.
Are you inclined to accept the Second Amendment?
I think pointing to your statement's enough, honestly. But believed, I think that is fine if you say believed was interrupted. Because you're saying that's your opinion on it.
Okay, so what are you willing to accept and
Continued to express his frustration
Well-
as he believed he was interrupted.
Which violated the rules of procedure.
And you just said you would take that out. I'm not including that.
okay, so
Why not?
you're
Why not? That was part of the issue is interruptions are outside
It's
rules of
in your
procedure.
statement which says that it's attached.
okay, so let me handle it this way, as presiding officer. Ben objects, Ben wants a certain amendment. Do you accept his amendment?
No.
Are you looking to amend and put
I'm-
forward?
I'm willing to amend it as I stated.
Okay, Mary, do you accept it as stated by Bernadette, since that's the only amendment now on the table to be considered? Okay, so that's the Second Amendment with the first one about the park situation. So now, is there any further discussion?
What, is this statement definitely going to be attached to the minutes themselves when they're published on the internet,
Terry?
Those statements were sent out today
in the attachments?
Yep.
But will they be with the minutes when the approved minutes are put on the internet? Because that's actually a motion that we had a long time ago to do that. So I'm expecting that to happen. Is that accurate expectation?
Sure, I can do that, although, these minutes are on
The internet, but they're not approved. So when the approved minutes, because there's gonna be a change, are put on, it will be attached right at the end along with Sean's statement, as we decided as a board some time ago would happen when people submit statements. So this would just be routine.
All in favor?
me.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Let's go back now. Proposed local law number 2, 2024 sidewalk reimbursements. We'll open this one after I read the notice. The Village of Ballston Spa notice of public hearing to consider adoption of local law. Notice is hereby given pursuant to section 20 of the municipal home rule law of the state of New York that a public hearing will be held by the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ballston Spa on Monday, March 11th, 2024 at 7:05 p.m. at the Ballston Spa Public Library located at 21 Milton Avenue, Ballston Spa, New York, for the purpose of considering the adoption of local law number 2 of 2024. If adopted, local law number 2 of 2024 would amend section 174-2 in chapter 174 streets and sidewalks. Written comments on local law number 2 of 2024 could be submitted to the village clerk up and through the time of the public hearing. A copy of proposed local law number 2 of 2024 can be obtained at the village offices and on the village's website. Okay, we'll open that one at 7:11 p.m. officially. Anybody would like to speak? I see a hand already, but let me go through my spiel if I can for a half second. Anybody would like to speak, please raise your hand. You'll have 5 minutes each. Anybody would like to speak on Zoom, please raise your hand now. I do see one hand raised. Again, this is only related to local law number 2 right now, and so go ahead, hand.
Ms. Cuomo's 89 High. I think it's basically a mistake to just do a small change in this law. I think when you change the law, you should do the whole job. I seem to remember at some point Carla giving us that advice that you don't just piecemeal law changes. And there are many other parts of this law that, should be corrected. Many of them were outlined last May. I don't see why you didn't go back at least to that version and implement that now. So, that's my opinion that, it's not a good idea to just change the reimbursement in one or two other pieces, but there are other pieces that were clearly outlined as needing change in this law. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the room? I think we have Nathan Ward on Zoom. Nathan, go ahead on mute and go.
Hi, this is Nathan. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, this is Nathan Ward, 1 Hyde Boulevard. If the village is going to change the sidewalk code, the changes should be more than just moving the reimbursement out of the code and into the fee schedule. It takes time, effort, and money to change the code, and if we plan on changing the code again at a later date, then we're wasting the time, effort, and money doing it now. Some of the changes should include changing the wording in 174 TAC 1, where it states sidewalks shall be constructed on both sides of the street. Currently, that is not the case in a lot of the village, and I don't think that should be the case since it only makes sense to have sidewalks on one side of the road in some situations. The bigger change should be moving the responsibility of sidewalk installation repair from the property owner to the village. This will greatly improve the walkability and safety and fill in sidewalk gaps. Another city did a focus group, and the outcome of the focus group, they found that they had very similar code as we do currently, and they found over the past 20 years that they had very little sidewalk being constructed, and the administration burden to force people to update the sidewalks delayed those repairs. Changing the reimbursement to 50% will not solve our sidewalk issues. The property owner still has to pay upfront for the whole cost of sidewalk repair and installation, which could be thousands of dollars. Only after the property pays that and the sidewalk is installed, then they are reimbursed by the village. And a lot of this I mentioned at the special sidewalk meeting on February 22nd. I haven't seen the YouTube video or the minutes from there, so sorry if I'm repeating a bunch of all this stuff. The other benefit of having walkable sidewalks and complete sidewalks in the village is it helps out the businesses and attracts customers to come to the village. My wife and I drove out to Schuylerville last summer, and we were pleasantly surprised that they had all new sidewalks down their main streets. After we ate dinner, we decided to walk on the nice new sidewalk, and we found another business that we popped into. Yeah. So just overall, I think the sidewalks are unsafe, and the change to the code that we are going to change the code to will not solve the problem. It's just going to have people pay the full amount and get reimbursed. Which is better than what we have right now, but it will not solve the problem. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else on Zoom? Anybody else in the room? Going once, going twice. And can I get a motion to close the public hearing for local law number 2 at 7:16 p.m.? Trustee Fandesa?
Second.
Trustee Raymond, discussion. All in favor?
Well, wait a second.
Sorry,
Thank you.
to close the public hearing only.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, no discussion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public comment on agenda items only, 3 minutes per speaker. This broadens it out to a broader subset of things to discuss here. And so if you have something to speak about, raise your hand. I see you a hand for again. I'll just do the spiel. This would be a good time for everybody on Zoom that would like to speak to raise your hand now on Zoom as we take care of any comments in the room. Go ahead. Sorry for cutting you off every time, but the spiel.
Liz Cormos, 89 Hyde. It's not on the agenda, but you have section 5 presentations. And one of the really cool things that happened it was under Christine's administration, was having departments come and present what their last year was, what they accomplished, what they wanted to do in the future. And it is budget season, and I think this is the second meeting, no presentations, nothing. So I think that's something that was, found to be very informative of not only the board, when you do have your budget workshops, but the public got to see what our employees were accomplishing and what their goals were. And I think that was a very valuable addition to village meetings, and seems to just.
Anybody else? Anybody on Zoom? Seeing neither, let us move to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve? Excuse me, I should do this first. I always forget to do this. Is everything on the consent agenda ready to move forward, or should something be removed?
I think everybody got my email regarding the budget transfers. I don't know if I didn't get a chance to look at my email today to see if.
Yeah, they were. It was 9,000, which was supposed to have been transferred by a budget to the library from the general fund balance to the library fund balance. And so we actually realized that when I met with the library this past week. The other ones are just to move the amounts to the proper lines for tomorrow's closing at 78 Thompson Street. More on that later, obviously.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Yep.
I just.
Yeah, there's a little delay on that too, because we're trying to figure out the right account numbers for a couple of those things. And so we had to go to LGSS to make sure we're getting it right. Nothing worse than transferring, only to have to transfer again because we got it wrong.
And it's all going to police. There's a police account. It looks like they're all.
I believe so. I believe that's what it was coded as.
Will that be attached to the minutes for this meeting?
It
wasn't public.
It's in the agenda listing in there, so
Okay.
it's in there. Okay, so everything remains then on the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 here. Trustee Fontaine,
I'll second.
trustee Baskin, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, it's everybody's favorite time of the program here where Carla gets to give us some guidance on how she wants to proceed with respect to resolutions for local laws. Okay, fine. Go ahead.
You were all provided with all the information with respect to the parks law. If you recall, you did seeker back prior, so we don't need to do seeker on this again. So at this point, it would be whether you want to adopt the, make a motion, as you have the resolution in front of you, make the motion and then have discussion.
Would you like me to read the resolution and get the motion, folks?
You have such a lovely speaking.
Thanks, Sean. Buddy old pal. Can I get a motion approving the following resolution? Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ballston Spa Board is considering the adoption of local law number 1 of 2024, which if adopted adds new chapter 150 parks to the code of the Village of Ballston Spa. And whereas the board finds that the adoption of local law number 1 of 2024 is in the best interest of the village, and it is necessary to provide for the health, safety, and welfare of village residents and property owners, preserves the public peace and good order on lands operated as public parks by the Village of Ballston Spa, and enhances and promotes safety, well-being, and enjoyment of the users of such parkland. And whereas the board finds that the adoption of local law number 1 of 2024 is a necessary and proper exercise of authority by the board, and whereas the authority for the enactment of this local law is found in section 10(1)(1) of the municipal home rule law, and whereas pursuant to section 20 of municipal home rule law, a public hearing on the proposed adoption of local law number 1 of 2024 was properly noticed in the newspaper and posted and was duly conducted on March 11, 2024 at the Ballston Spa Public Library. And whereas the board has considered the public comments provided before and those made at the public hearing, and whereas the board, serving as lead agency for this unlisted action under SECRA, reviewed a short environmental assessment form and determined that the action does not present any adverse environmental impacts. And whereas after thorough review and deliberation, the board proposes to adopt local law number 1 of 2024. And whereas the attorney for the village has prepared the necessary documents for filing this local law with the Secretary of State, now therefore be it resolved that the board hereby adopts local law number 1 of 2024, which adds a chapter as stated above, and be it further resolved that the board adopts and authorizes the filing of a negative declaration under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, and be it further resolved that the board hereby authorizes the village clerk and the attorney for the village to make such minor modifications to the local law documents as they deem necessary, and thereafter are directed to execute and file the said documents as required by law, and to take all the necessary action for the promulgation thereof. Trustee Fandesa,
Second.
trustee Raymond, discussion. Hearing no discussion, roll call vote, please.
Trustee Baskin?
Aye.
Yeah. Trustee Price Bush? Yes. Trustee Raymond?
Yes.
Mayor Rossi?
Yes. 5-0, motion carries and local law number 1 is approved. Moving on to local law number 2, same rules apply. With respect to secret already being performed, no.
Nope, we didn't do secret.
Okay, so go ahead and lead the way.
So folks, you all have in your emails, the part 2 and part 3 of the short environmental assessment form. You have before you part 2, which has sections 1 through 11. I have taken the liberty of identifying that the action, which is the adoption of the law, will have no or small impact, environmental impact. If you want to change any of that, we can go through each of them individually, or if you're okay with that, we can move forward to part 3.
There are nothing moving forward part
Everyone
part
good with
3.
that? Okay. So is it at part 3, you'll notice that it is the hard look determination of significance. Is it the board's desire that there will be a negative declaration issued with respect to local law 2 of 2024?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So if that is the case, we should just have a quick motion to motion to adopt the negative declaration.
Got to get a motion to adopt a negative declaration related to local law number 2 of 2024 under the State Environmental Quality Review Act. Trustee Fandesa, trustee Price Bush, discussion. Roll call.
Trustee Baskin?
Yes.
Trustee Vandenza?
Yes.
Trustee Price Bush?
Yes.
Trustee Raymond?
Yes.
Mayor Rossi?
Yes. Showtime.
Yep, and then it is the same exact resolution, except this one obviously identifies local law 2 of 2024. Other than that, it's the same, required statutory language, which the mayor can read again if everybody wants. I'm good.
I only made him do it once.
So then you need a motion in a second and then discussion.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the resolution approving local law number 2 of 2024 as included in the attachments? Trustee Fandesa,
Second.
trustee Raymond, discussion.
So I agree with the speakers that, first I just want to go on the record as I'm still support the idea of the village being responsible for sidewalks. So I agree with what Mr. Ward said and many others about the practicality and effectiveness of doing that. So, but given that at least Frank and Bernadette are against that, and we don't know about Mary exactly, but they can speak for themselves. This is the path we're doing at this point. And it is true that we probably could have moved the whole package forward together with under May 15th version. And there were a few more changes that we've suggested, but the May 15th version actually had a lot of significant changes, some of which were mentioned earlier. But I'm going to vote for this because with the understanding that we're shortly going to be addressing the rest of the law, right? After the budget, you said?
Yeah, I'm drowning in tentative budget, as you can imagine, so I want to get that out. And then as you all wrestle with that aspect of things, I'll be doubling back to get your Google Doc finished up.
All right,
I thought the priority was to go in that order ultimately when I was faced with both.
So I think that's great that the village is going to increase, what this law allows us to do is, and what it's leading to, is an increase in the reimbursement of 50% currently is what we're intending at the moment. And so I see that as an important, development to assist in our improvement of the sidewalk law. So I'm glad that we're moving in that direction.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Baskin?
Yes.
Trustee Von Denza?
Yes.
Trustee Price Bush?
Yes.
Trustee Raymond?
Yes.
Mayor Rossi?
Yes, and local law number 2 has been approved of 2024, 5-0. Mayor's announcements, couple just general announcements, and I got some more coming up later in old business, but appreciate Greg Connors for sitting down with Rory O'Connor and me on Friday to discuss just general economic development and business impacts going on right now in the community. Working to get him, he's from the Saratoga Economic Development Corporation, I believe the other C is. The intent here is to have the SEDC understand what's out there and available in the Village of Ballston Spa with respect to especially properties to develop or redevelop, and also some ideas about how to create better business as well. We're, I shouldn't say better per se, let's say consistent with what our current standards are right now, thanks to the BSBPA's leadership over the last years. The chambers as well, I want to get them involved and basically figure out ways to help incubate businesses that are going to be long-lasting, positive members of the community and create some positive economic impacts for the village moving forward. So that was just step one to sort of catch them up as to where we are. I remember the work that we had Prosperity Partnership do. They are no longer in existence. So now it's helping to create next steps with our BSBPA, not toss them aside in any way, shape, or form, but they'd actually reached out to me with concerns about some of the developments in local business that we're seeing, some of the dark spaces and whatnot. And this was my first salvo at trying to make sure that we have a good team effort going forward, moving things forward for this community in our village especially. So there is that. With respect to, well, I got those two things coming up, so I'll leave it at that for now. Treasurer's report, I will just state that Melissa and I have been going department by department to rectify requests for budget internally to make sure that everybody understands where their money was spent, what's still to be spent this year, and where we're going with it, so that a tentative budget can be formed and become the basis for budget work thereafter. That is due next Tuesday and will be technically delivered at the next board meeting the following Monday, although you'll have it obviously before that. But then you'll have basically a month to decide how to move forward with respect to any meetings, et cetera, that you want. You figure out who you want to speak to, because some of it may be pretty obvious, some of it may not be so obvious, and I'll try to give you as much backup.
Scheduling workshops, or is it as needed?
I think it's going to be as needed. I think take a look at it next week. We'll have plenty of time to start scheduling up at that point, well in advance of it. Last year we did it before tentative budget. I feel like getting the framework first is going to give you a better go of what needs to be changed instead of having a blank slate to work with. It's almost too blank in those situations, I think.
Yep, I agree. It's good to have something, but I think we should, I really appreciated having those budget workshops and hearing from department heads and everyone else. And I would advocate to just plan on having it, like go ahead and schedule them, because I think they're very helpful. I think it should just be the default. I don't know how others think, but I think.
I mean, I have no
I'd
problem
miss
going to
it.
workshops. I agree with you. I thought they were informative. And you get to really know, the internal workings and what, their issues are.
Yeah, I'm kind of Switzerland in this process.
Right.
Like I said, my job here is to do that first vetting scenario. So I don't take it as a distrust of my work. I just take it as you want to get validation of what's going on too.
No,
And I
but
get that.
There's a public element to it too.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is an opportunity for the public to listen in to the conversation and hear what the issues are.
My thought is you probably should figure somewhere in the first week of April, if you need 1 or 2 nights, move forward at the next meeting, basically to create that. I think you're gonna have time between, what is the next meeting, it's the 25th. So you'll have a week, week and a half basically in advance to,
Right, and if
Get it.
you even want to just do a tentative schedule, if we use it or not, just so that, maybe the dates are held down, so people keep their schedules clear.
why don't we do this? Propose by email your dates on the next meeting. We'll validate them with a vote, and that way we can get it rolling.
Well,
If there's one in particular, let me just finish one
Yeah.
second. If there's one particular you're absolutely sure you want to hear from, like DPW, maybe, I don't know. Then let's make sure he's got availability, because he's
Right,
got some
that's
days
really-
off
That's
too.
the key factor.
right, you
Yeah.
want it for all that,
When
that's
are
what I was gonna
they
say, all the
available?
departments.
Yeah.
So let's,
Yeah.
let's work with our department heads, to make sure that they're available and that we're not creating issues for them.
Right, especially if we're not, since we haven't done these presentations, it's really the opportunity to talk to these people. The only one that we've had this year, so.
Right, in theory, if we do this and they're all public, they could be in lieu of presentations, because they're presenting what they.
Well,
do.
that was the other note. Well, I didn't want to
Yeah.
say it until I had
Yeah.
the chance later, but you just took my report or discussion later, which is,
Yeah.
let's see who actually has to report for workshops, and then we'll figure out who's left to schedule them at a later date, more towards the summer at that point. Okay. I think that's it. Like I said, that's kind of taking a lot of our time right now in the office, and once we get clear of that, we'll get a more formalized treasurer's report for you at that point in time. Liaison reports, let's start with Sean tonight. Sorry, Sean.
So, last kill switch, these are the completed items. The DPW has done in the last couple of weeks. Last kill switch installed on truck 8, all trucks complete, safety barricades have been rebuilt. Just label stop sign inspection and inventory done, and replacements of signs are done. The San Souci well pump house building has been removed and cleared, and the San Souci building slab was poured today. Streets measured for this year's paving, so to calculate asphalt quantities. Storm and sewer outfalls have been inspected. Water meter readings, inspection and upgrades are ongoing. And repair to the DPW garage heater was made. Moving forward in the next couple of weeks, San Souci building construction starts in a couple of days. Repair to Lowell Street water building roof, and regulatory signs, stop signs and whatnot. There's going to be inventory inspection and starting of those. Sanitary sewer main cleaning in the Kelly Square area. Ongoing water meter readings, and clean and repair overflow pipe at Brown Street Upper Reservoir. Probably the heavy rain that's kind of had it probably washed out a little bit. So EPA water service report, that's an ongoing thing with an ultimate due date of October 2024, and then obviously the 2025 budget. Jeff will be working.
I've been working with him on that. Appreciate his time. Also getting Jennifer involved to help track some things with him, and Melissa as well. One thing I do want to note, thanks to them for the work they've been doing on the Colonial Hills entryway. You wouldn't even recognize the front area right now, and obviously they have to plant new trees, but just the fact it's smoothed out now and manageable as a lawn to mow later on is going to
Right.
be big.
Yeah.
So thank you to them for that work up there as well. And the sign looks great. So thanks, Jen, for getting that together. I'll have one more thing about water tower stuff, but Mayor's announcements that I forgot coming up after. I want you all to finish here, so just remind me in case I forget here. I had meant to mark it down. Mary, you're next, so, and go ahead with that microphone.
And the library has a lot going on. They're planning on breaking ground end of September, beginning of October, tentatively for their construction and the addition. They're revising their code of conduct for library patrons. They are hosting a poetry writing workshop April 13th at 12 o'clock. And starting April 1st, they're going to be selling raffle tickets for 2 baskets, one for adults and one for families. I met with Linda and Barb from the Ballston area seniors, and they gave me a tour of their facilities. They're so busy. They've got so much to do. Their calendar is full. And Linda would like to come and make a presentation in the near future after budgets are done.
Only if I get a hug, tell her.
I think she
Okay, you
manage
can arrange
Yeah, she wants to just discuss what they're doing, and they have added our meeting days onto their announcements, so more seniors can tune in or come in for our meetings. The events committee is going to be stuffing Easter eggs tentatively a week from tonight at the Elks. And is there a time?
I would say 6 o'clock. It's all tentative. I'm ready for confirmation.
Tentatively at 6 o'clock.
Thanks, Mary. Bernadette, go ahead.
Just briefly, the BSBPA, just a reminder, I know I've said this, but I hope to see everybody's face. They're having their annual meeting mixer on next Monday, the 18th, starting at 6 o'clock till 8 at Nexter Kitchen. It's delicious, as many of you know, but more importantly, it's an opportunity to celebrate all that has been done with the small businesses in our community, hear how they've been making an impact in the village. Additionally, I know that they recently had their, what do you call those things? I wrote it down, retreat. They had 2 days of retreat for planning for the future, for the year, for their budget. And I know that they are already looking at ways on how to kind of capitalize on Belmont being here this year. So when Saratoga's too packed, everybody comes to Ballston Spa, and I hope they spend all their money here. So thank them for all that they're doing. Ben, I'm going to do a little bit of arts because usually you go before me. For those that don't know, Ben and I are co-liaisons to Arts Committee. It's a really wonderful, wonderful group. As you guys saw earlier on the motions, they selected their 2 chairs. There's going to be co-chairs this year. It's going to be Ashley Bush and thank you. Anyway, those 2 women are great. Ashley's been involved for quite a bit and came on just last year, I believe it was, in the spring. But she has a marketing background, and I think that will really benefit that group. They've been planning diligently for the poetry month coming up in April. And I hope that you all will enjoy it and be a part of it. As mentioned, there's going to be a poetry workshop on April 13th. There's a sign up with the library, so make sure that you check in with the library about that. There's going to be an open mic on the 17th of April. That's going to be at Real McCoy. Mike is opening his doors for that. 6:30 registration. If you want to read poem, Frank, hopefully you'll read something. And 7 o'clock is when we'll be doing the actual readings. And then later on in the month, April 27th, there's going to be a professional reading with professional poets in the area, and the reservations will be done through Brookside's website. So they're doing a lot of good things, just giving that another plug. And thanks, that's all I've got for now.
Roses are red, violets are blue. This meeting's moving well. Hopefully it doesn't turn into a zoo. There you go. There's my poetry for you. You can see why I will not be reading. Ben, what's your random act?
Well, just to continue on what Bernadette started with the random acts of poetry, the library piece is going to be 12 to 3 on April 13th, in case you're wondering the time. And it'll feature instructions by Joseph Bruchak, who is a local poet. And then the Brookside is at 7 p.m. for poetry reading as well, featuring Elaine Handley and Marilyn McCabe and Joseph Bruchak. So should be great. And this is on, you can see this on the Committee on Arts website or Facebook page. The other thing the Committee on the Arts is doing is enlisting businesses throughout the village to post poetry. And they continue to solicit business, anybody, just it doesn't have to be businesses, any organization that has a public office of any kind or public facing, where they have a place to post poetry, is welcome to join. So again, contact the Committee on the Arts if you'd like to participate in that. The committee can provide poetry, or if you have poems that you'd like to display, that is welcome as well. So But you don't have to come up with your own poems if you don't want to. So that's the Arts Committee being very busy. They're also working on their budget, of course, and they're still waiting on Saratoga Arts announcement for what might be available this year. The Park and Tree Board, Caitlin wrote a nice summary again of their activities. They continue to work with Studio A, landscape architecture and engineering on the Wiswall Park Master Plan. They met last week with them, and Frank was there as well, and they're working toward having Jeff, the landscape architect, present what they've been working on to the public, I think in 2 weeks,
2 meetings.
and 2 meetings, it's a
Yep.
1 month.
Yep, I'll give you a little bit more on that when we get to old business. Give you a little more on
Alright.
what happened at that meeting and then
Alright.
full info on that.
They are also excited about Arbor Day. They're planning to plant 1 to 2 trees in Kelly Park the morning of Saturday, April 7th at 10 a.m. Everyone's welcome to attend and participate. And weather permitting, they'll also host an informational tree walk that afternoon to talk about the different trees in the village and pruning recommendations, things like that. And she says on that note, spring is a great time to plant trees. If anyone has been considering planting a yard or street tree, please reach out to the Park and Tree Board. They have a recommended tree list for the village, and they would happily help to decide what tree varieties might best suit your space.
Thank you. With respect to water, I met with USG's, our connection with USG, who was the company that we approved for the bid with respect to the John Street Tower. Nick, whose last name I will butcher if I try it. So we'll just go with Nick for now, and I'll practice for when he speaks with us. I conveyed our concern about the holding of money by USG for future maintenance, and we're working with him and his company to figure out some more creative solutions. Perhaps an escrow methodology whereby they wouldn't have direct control of our money. We would have access to get it back if something happened, i.e. bankruptcy of that company or failure to act according to the contract, whatever. So he's working on that and is currently slated, if he gets everything together with me on this, on March 25th to address the board. I offered him to go by Zoom because he's from northern New Jersey, so I did want him to have to come all the way up here for this, but he may come in person still if he's in the area for other reasons anyway. So I did want to at least let you know that I did have that discussion because I shared that concern, and we talked about some creativity that he's got to get passed by his folks.
Oh, yeah, I understand that.
Yep.
But I guess why would we hand them money to hold on to?
Well, it wouldn't be handing them money. It'd be the alternative would be an escrow account or them trusting our reserve account if we or when we create one, because that'll be probably in the next
So
meeting.
is that an interest-bearing account? Because we hold on to the money, we're making interest on it.
Well, the interest technically is what pays for your warranty. That's what he was telling me. So the value of the interest is the warranty itself for the later years, especially because it's not a free warranty once you get outside of, let's say, the normal expected warranty period. So basically, they are still on the hook to take care of issues down the line. That's why they do the repaint in 13 years or shorter if it's showing where when they're looking at the exterior especially. So I don't want to rob him of his ability to explain it. I just want to give you an indication though that might be coming up on the 25th meeting. So look forward to that. And like I said, I conveyed the concerns. And so we're at least trying to make some progress because what you were explaining is what we said we didn't necessarily want, which was somebody else to control the money and never see the ability to get it back per se. So we'll get you more on that soon. Wiswall Park update, I'll take this one. And as Ben alluded to, Caitlin and I did meet with Jeff from Studio A on Friday in his office. And good to see they moved to a nice new space in Saratoga. Congratulations to Studio A on that. We conveyed the need or desire to have more or less a larger version, which we've got obviously several of them if we need to print those several. With a side-by-side of a before overview and an after, basically next to each other. Also with the after getting some explanation of how long certain areas are, the dimensions, et cetera, as we had discussed at the meeting. So he's working on that, and he's also working on, and I base this on the consensus of the group from last time, 3 different elevation renderings, one from each basically entry street, one from Walnut, one from Front Street, one from Low Street, to show more or less what it looks like. They're getting a special camera together to shoot those. I think it's total for 3 of them of about $3,000 total. And based on what the consensus was last time, I said go for it.
So is this based on the public feedback from posting the site layout from the last meeting?
No, unfortunately, since we didn't get to meet until Friday, and we don't have exactly
No,
what
no,
we were
no, I
asking
mean the
for.
last public meeting.
No, in fact.
It was a
also-
request to put it on the website for
Okay.
public information.
And at that point in time, I think we had further discussed that we were not going to go that direction
So
until we get iron out a couple other
the
details.
question I have is, how do you know that we're spending this money and it's even required unless you've gotten public input by posting the site plan?
Well, if you don't want the renderings, then say no. We can tell them to not.
I don't have an issue with renderings, but we don't even know if we need them yet.
Uh,
Because the public has no idea what even the site plan.
Well,
looks
the
like.
idea is at this point, as long as there wasn't negative feedback from BSBPA and Christine.
Well, BSBA represents a fraction of the
Okay.
parties.
Okay, that's nice. However, it represents an important fraction of the parties. So Christine, if you could, for 1 second, because I know Dana's not, Dana's enjoying, I think, some well earned vacation time. Was there any feedback presented that you know of for, with respect to the Wiswell Park design from your organization?
I think Caitlin's still waiting on that. Dana said she'd get it to her last Wednesday, but she's been out on vacation, I guess, so there's been a delay. But I think she's collected it, right?
I don't know if you want me to.
If you want to give us just a brief overview, go ahead. Why don't you come up so that at least
Yeah,
get your
I'll
mic.
try to remember.
We're not holding you to it, but at least it'd be good to help. No,
You'll see the number come up.
it's actually backward on there. That's why she can't see it.
Oh, no.
Just hold the button. Well, it's battery done. I got you.
The main thing that we had said that we were concerned about was my picture.
Was turn the mic up some.
These trees and this line,
That's Walnut.
this is along Walnut, and basically, like, how big are these? We don't feel like they're necessary. I don't know. It's hard to tell from these kind of drawings, like how big these kinds of things are. So I think like that was one of the main takeaways.
Would a rendering help from kind of street view?
Yeah, because the scale on here, obviously, you can't really tell. There was some other feedback from a couple of people that we didn't think this path was necessary. Those are the only 2 things I can remember, to be honest.
Fountain location is okay for you guys?
Yes, because we felt like there was enough space around here that we could still put vendors, so nobody was really concerned about that anymore, so. Yes. Yep. Yeah, and there was still space. I mean, yeah, I think we sent our stuff to Dana, and if there's anything further, she'll send it this evening. She gets back.
Okay. It's good to have that. No, thank you very much for that.
And I think it's important to have interested parties have the ability to look at the site plan and make comments. And since the vast majority of interest parties are the general public, I'm just not sure why it wouldn't have been posted on the website so we got greater public input.
So,
I mean, they pay the vast majority of the taxes in this village.
sure, no one's saying not to put it out there. What I had indicated was that because I think it's not entirely user friendly. I thought having the measurements, and that's what, hold on. Having the measurements on there for the features, so that it explained to people how big the gazebo, how big the water fountain would have been, or it would be, excuse me, how tall the the park place that would be. Those were things that I had suggested, and, you know, I know that was the work that they were gonna do. And unfortunately, it just sounded like no one can get together,
Well,
for the meeting with Jeff until when it was.
Friday was, yeah.
But, so I think I would like to see that, you know, with that information, and that was something I did discuss and ask for at the last meeting. Because I thought, yes, while it's important for the BSBPA, but it's also important for residents, and yeah, they are the taxpayers. So I don't disagree with you on that.
Also, just as an FYI, we're trying to shop for a casing to stand case basically to place in Wiswall Park, so we can put the long plan with the before and after type things, so that it's readily available to folks in Wiswall Park to go look at it and give some feedback as well. Maybe if not, figure out a way to QR code a comment sheet or something like that online. So that too is something I think, what is, you even agreed in the last meeting, if I remember correctly, Sean, that a before and after would be useful to assist the public in determining where we are. And doing the renderings, here's the process. Basically, you go out once, shoot the current conditions, and then they computer generate what they're going to put on it. So essentially, they do the hard work by taking the special camera renderings and then just drop things into it consistent with any plan or plan change. So you're getting the hard part out of the way.
I guess,
Go ahead.
I mean, it sounds like an important step, but the only question is, what order do we do these steps? To me, it makes sense to get all the feedback you can prior to investing more money and energy into the next generation of maps. It is true, if a map can't be read, then it's not helpful, but clearly the map can be read. VSBPA has read it, and others could read. Actually, Nathan Ward provided a map with dimensions and little boxes indicating number of vendors. Is like 30 vendors could fit on there, like the day after last meeting. So there is a usable tool currently in existence for soliciting feedback. It's not the glossy ultimate tool, but I think it makes sense to get feedback as you go so that you can tweak before you invest more and more money in these fancier and fancier products. So I don't see any, this is basically the point I made at the last meeting. I don't see any harm in releasing the current version, you know, with Nathan's additions of dimensions, and continuing.
No, he put tents in certain tents in areas where technically they would be bonus tents, because there will be times when the inside of the wheel, let's call it, of the entryways will not be available to the public or to a farmer's market vendor. So I would promote the idea you count the ones on the outside and not in the wheel area, make sure that they have sufficient number of tents external from that zone. If those are available, those are bonus spaces at
Did you
that
think
point.
they did? Well, VSBP seeing them, it sounds like they're satisfied with the spacing.
Right, but I can't guarantee the BSBPA that all those areas where they have squares are available and every day, because Christmas tree time, if you know you want to do a
we
winter
understand
event or
that.
something like that, there's no snow.
Well,
You wouldn't have the availability to. So I just want them to understand they don't have all those tents all the time. I want to make sure they have enough tents all the time for what they have intended, or any other event for that matter comes in there.
well, obviously things will change based on activities, but the layout needs to be obviously static. It's the same from one.
Eve is on the Park and Tree Board. I should proceed. If you want to go up to the microphone, go ahead.
Just a couple things. First, to address the size of trees, there are power lines above, so it has to be trees that are going to be very slow growing and small. So it's just to provide more of a screen for the big concrete wall that's there on the street. Just so that's not very pretty. That's the one thing. And the other thing, it just occurred to me that wouldn't it be sort of easy to just video record someone explaining it and put that on the website? Maybe?
Well, Jeff's going to come on the 5th of, is it 5th of April? What is the date of April? 8th of April,
I
sorry.
agree with the fact that it's a lot of money to create a rendering that we may not go that way.
In our discussion with Jeff on Friday, Caitlin, Jeff, and I all believe that we have reached a point where if we made subtle modifications, it's not going to matter because remember, these are generalized visualizations. These are not going to be perfect in a sense of the word. And so it's just something to start getting people to say, oh, that's the way it might look ultimately. You can't guarantee it's going to look 100% like that, obviously, because you still have to bid it out. You still have to get the final set of plans ultimately. So we all kind of came to the agreement because the question was on the table. What's the right timing to do something like that? And it appeared that this would be a good way to get everything out to the public at once to say, here's before, here's after, and here's these lovely renderings of what it'll look like when we get to a point, hopefully when it opens and looks like that ultimately.
I mean, that's great. I think the question is somewhat of the approach. So it's one thing to sort of get your plans in place and then present them to the public and say, look at what we're planning to do. I hope you like it. Versus earlier in the process, like we did with BSBPA, getting open-ended kind of feedback about, oh, we need more vendor space, we need fewer bushes. Maybe the public wants something in the park we haven't even thought of. I predict that we're not going to get a whole lot of significant feedback, but I think it's important to provide the opportunity to provide the feedback. We may learn something new, and it just shows transparency and an interest in what the public wants. But also it may actually change what we do to some degree significantly. Versus eventually we'll get there. We're like, all right, this is we decide, this is the plan, this is the layout, here's your maps. And this is exciting, see what we're planning to do. So anyway, if you're gonna spend, or we're gonna spend the $3,000 on the next generation of maps, I'd still like there to be an opportunity for the public, an open question for the public. Do you like what this is? What other suggestions do you have for us, or how do you, just give us feedback? There is something of a time concern if we don't want to delay this a whole nother year.
No, it's next year at this point. There's no way around it, Ben, because we can't do it to the farmers market at this point either. And the best window we had stated to search for grants as well. Sorry, to search for grants as well, to get somebody a bid in and ready for the work ultimately would be in the fall time to get all that stuff together to process. There is a process.
But the grant writing could happen this year, right?
The grant writing can, but whether or not
Right.
you're awarded the grant, that could inform certain decisions about what we use and do.
Right. But in order to write a grant, we need to present the plan that's finished more basically. That's like, this is our plan.
Caitlin is actually seeking what grants are achievable. Jeff's working with her on that. We went through that discussion as well. He's also tweaking a description of costs, timing, etc. I've got actually a review. He gave me a draft to look at, and we'll feed it back to him so that it's ready for prime time in a couple weeks when he gives a presentation. But it looked pretty good. I mean, I'm not going to second guess the guy in that stuff very much.
Yeah, it just, as you know, things seem to take months and months and months. And the grant, there's grants coming up July. I actually forwarded to the group, and Bernadette was on the email. At least I don't know if you forwarded it to everyone else, but there's a quarterly grant from T-Mobile, $50,000 that we could apply for if we decide what we want. I'm more than willing to write that grant. And there's opportunities, in the beginning of the year, these grants come out. They start to come out, and we should have our ducks in a row and finish this.
The Common App for the state, which Jeff was reminding us, is in the summer. So, I mean, there is some time for what we would be most likely approved for if we were to get something as well. So we are aware of it and working toward it, but the actual work for this is a spring next year job.
Right, yeah, no, I understand that, but I'm more worried about the fundraising piece and not impinging on that. So after these maps are created, and
you mean the renderings of the maps?
The renderings, whatever the next generation, there's number of products, it sounds like, in the works.
I want to display them at as many places we can get them, get some QR codes up, like I said, invest in even
and
getting
ask for
them.
feedback, and then if
Absolutely.
they need to be tweaked, we'll pay for additional the generation after that,
Well,
or it won't cost as much.
It's a single $5,000 for Jeff. He expects a feedback round. There's no doubt. So he's going to get a feedback round coming up here. And like I said, The expense of doing the visualizations is the initial using the fancy
Right.
camera.
And then they can tweak them without a
Yeah,
lot
in
of
fact,
problems.
he's gonna be able to do a black and white version of them, like a sketch version of it, so
Mm-hmm.
that before he colorizes it, if we're seeing anything that's sticking out too, we could actually stop the presses and say, hey, fix that, that doesn't look right, or, go back to the overhead and change that, because that doesn't look right. So we're gonna have some opportunities here to inform that whole thing too, because as Elizabeth said, said, even BSBPA members seem to be having trouble visualizing what certain things look like on that map, and to have a elevation rendering of it is going to be, I think, very key in helping people that aren't used to these things, or even people that are. I'm used to these things. I can't tell you what this thing's going to really look like. I can't tell you if I'm excited or nervous right now about this thing. I hope to be excited, Eve. Don't get me wrong, but I can't tell you for sure. And I think it's going to be our first opportunity, all of us, to say, gosh, that looks good. That this is great work, and thank you for all the work you've been putting into it at that point.
Okay, so again, for me, the two issues are moving this forward without a lot of delay,
And
and then having a real window
Yep.
for public feedback.
Absolutely. That's exactly what's intended. And like the grand unveiling, we'll call it, is April 8th. Is that the next meeting we said? When Jeff delivers to us here and provides the background on it.
Okay.
I just feel that there's no reason to delay putting the site plan on our website. It should be on there tomorrow. So, what? You don't need measurements, there's a scale on it.
Not, we have to rehash the measurements and rulers and everything. Not everybody,
Apparently they
not
come teach me how to use the
everybody-
ruler yet, so I
not
can't.
everybody is
I
very
think
adept
you're
to that.
wildly underestimating the public.
And then Nathan has
Okay.
put the dimensions
So-
on.
But
did that.
again, I appreciate Nathan's efforts. We have a consultant for this. It's pretty simple to ask for measurements. I don't know why it's difficult. They already talked about it. He's getting it to us. So it's kind of a non-issue at this point.
You showed it to a public entity, but you can't show it to the general
I'm
public.
not saying
It
that.
absolutely makes no
Sean,
sense.
what are you not hearing? We are gonna do that. We're gonna get the stuff. We're gonna put it up. We're
Well, it
gonna
should have
put it
been
in
on
the
2
park.
weeks ago.
No, we discussed it at the last meeting. I asked for measurements for the things. It's going up. It's gonna
And
go
I
up when we
said
get all
last
these things.
weekend, there
So
was
it's not
no
worth fighting
logical
about.
or
I
rational
love how you raise your voice
reason
all the
not
time.
to.
Honestly, Sean, I really, in defense of something that Terry said a couple meetings ago.
I just don't know why you won't want the
Stop
public to
yelling.
see it.
Stop yelling or I'm taking us to recess.
I just don't know why you don't want the public to see it.
It's
That only special interest can.
You said yourself, Sean, you said yourself, what needed some context with before and after, and so we took everything that was said at the last meeting, went to
I
Jeff with
agree
it,
with all
had
of
a
that.
great meeting with Jeff.
But there
Caitlin
was
and I were
no
working great with
reason
them
not to
and making
post the
sure,
site plan.
now you're interrupting as I'm trying to talk to you. Okay, let's calm down. We had a great meeting with them. We're all on the same page on a good way to deliver this, to make sure we're set up for success overall with this situation, to get people excited about it, to get it ready for grants as well, to get it ready for the next phases when we have to actually do full plans and actually bid out the situation. Okay, we have some values, which are some pretty hefty values. He's going to talk to us about in a couple of weeks, unless he phases those back a little bit after his draft of this, and a time frame. So we've got a lot of information we're going to be asked to digest coming up here as a board, as much as the public digests the actual plan. We're all going to have a lot of work to do, and we're going to hopefully stay really excited about it. And that's where we're going with it right now, it sounds like.
I have no problem with renderings, elevations, that's fine. There's no reason to keep this out of the public domain. This should be a public document that everybody can see. Should have been able to see it 2 weeks ago. We could still move forward with everything you're saying. There's no reason not to get initial public input from the site plan. The fact that we're trying to guard it from the public, I just don't even understand why. So
It will probably move things along. The sooner we start getting some public feedback, the sooner we can inform Jeff that we're on the right track, or please tweak this or whatever. Just, there's no harm in it. There's no negative.
Well, I look forward to them with these copies and let's move on.
78 Thompson Street, tomorrow we are closing on 78 Thompson Street. We will be the owners of the former Community Emergency Corps building, where we will be moving our police department in soon thereafter. Well, as I said, the closing is tomorrow, and then we are still in the meantime putting together or finalizing our USDA application, which is permissible. The way we're doing this, we made sure to check that as well. The interest rate currently is around 3.75%, although it may move slightly at the end of the month as they begin to review the application and the final information they need from us. We, as Carla had explained to the board recently, we opted to not include the amount for renovations because it was creating more problem than good for us. It's a turnkey building in a lot of different ways. It's a very good condition building, and it will need some subtle changes, obviously, to be prepped up for a police department. And for the simple work, we're enlisting DPW to do things like repainting, et cetera. That it's going to be probably most cost effective, honestly, for the village to do it that way, even if it involves overtime for our DPW staff. But we appreciate anybody that does want to step forward and do that and help us out with that. For larger things, obviously, you'll see things coming down the pipe where we'll get approvals. We have to do a certain job to get our evidence room fortified and cooled and all that stuff, ammo closet, et cetera, things that are necessary in a police department, and also obviously outfitted questioning room and office space, and also get some technology for security cameras, et cetera. So probably in the vicinity of about $50,000 self-funded investment over the next couple of months we're looking at. And again, we'll be coming to you as we identify things to make changes on down the line here. But I think it's an exciting time. As Ben had suggested in an email yesterday, there may be some grants out there. We were already looking at a couple of those ideas for how to get the court building or the court 30 Bath Street into a full court and multi-purpose meeting room type of approach as well. So we're hoping to move that as the next step after we have finished with the police situation here. So the excitement from our police department and the ability to get a sign on a building that says Ballston Spa Police Department alone is really palpable at this point in time.
Do you think there's time to apply for the Paul Tonko, congressional?
That's what I'm looking at.
May 1st is, I think, the deadline. So it's very.
There's a couple of grants. That one grant date got floated to April from, I want to say, Senator Gillibrand's office that was being put up. There's a couple different things out there. So when I get a couple seconds to resurface and breathe, I'm going to reach back out to Julie Berline, actually, somebody that's pretty good with, let's say, a chemistry with that office, to perhaps see what she thinks about a couple of these things as well. She works with the fire department grants, obviously. Yeah, there are.
There's two that potentially apply.
And then tacos as well. Yeah.
Time frame is tight. That's the
Yep.
thing.
No, I get it.
You just released the guidelines, or something funny happened with the guidelines.
Yeah, they kicked them forward too.
Totally,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. They realized that. I think they went to April with the Gillibrands, that probably both. Ultimately tacos and Gillibrands is my guess, but we'll take another look at it. And like I said, thanks for passing along. We got there. Just want to make sure that we had enough time to look at it seriously with somebody that's going to possibly ultimately be able to write the grant in a quick manner for us if it comes down to it. So excitement there. I can't contain myself on that. Any new business? There's none listed. Hearing none. Public comment on any issue, 3 minutes, and same rules apply. Feel free to raise your hand in here. Raise your hand on Zoom now if you have anything you'd like to say about any issue. And go ahead, anybody in the room. Okay.
I just have a question, Liz Cormos, 89 Hyde. What about the DPW building? There's supposed to be some plans.
They are being worked on.
They're not done
Labella.
yet?
No,
Any timeline on that?
it's actively being worked on. So we're making sure that Jeff gives feedback on what he's looking for and everything else with respect to it. So there was a general, very, very, very rough sketch idea presented to just get look and feel ideas for Jeff. And then he gave some comments on that, and they're back to the drawing board to begin to solidify it better. Also looking at how Charlton Street looks and works, because there may be ability to gain a little bit of extra frontage there to enable a better design ultimately of the building or garage. And so they're looking at that as well.
So the decision's been made to redo the building there.
Well, we're just trying to get plans that are viable is where we are at right now. So it looks like it's viable. It's just a question of what does it look like when it's viable?
Okay. The question is there enough room on that?
There
lot?
was enough room generally, but there may be the ability to increase a little bit of extra space there as well. And that's what they're looking at with their civil as well, to see how Charlton moves. So just want to give you that update since, yes. Yeah. Anybody else? Go Marilyn, then Christine, then Chris. How's that? I'll pre-call here. There's 2 hands also in Zoom, so keep me on that.
Marilyn Stevenson, 45 West High Street. Just want to announce that the Ballston Spa House and Garden Club will be holding their 14th annual geranium and plant sale. This is a pre-order event that we have every year. Proceeds support youth programming that the Garden Club does, in addition to the care and maintenance of the public gardens that we maintain through the village. The order date is Thursday, May 9th. The pickup date will be Thursday, May 16th. We have new Garden Club members who are in charge of this event this year. They are Mary and John Tozier, and I will provide the clerk a copy of the poster, the order form, and the flyers that will be going up around town in case anybody wants to order those items. We have geraniums, wave petunias, and sweet potato vines. And as I said, the money that we get is for youth programming, and specifically, we do a $500 scholarship for the graduating senior. That's an increase over last year. And the public gardens that we maintain, the Pink Garden and the Garden of Learning at the library, and the Iron Spring Garden, those are all maintained by the Garden Club. Second item would be the Historic District Commission will be holding a workshop on May 9th, a Thursday at 7 p.m. at the library here. The workshop theme will be dating your house. It will be a workshop style hands-on project of the Historic District Commission to help with those that have historic homes within the district, or for that matter, anyone outside the district who's looking to learn a little more about how to research their house, date it, and if there's any interesting facts that will come out of that. Part of the program will be a discussion that several historic district commissioners have had when they've gone through the process to date their house, and the information for the people that own the house at that time and what their contributions were to the community. So they'll be sharing that. Thank you.
It's a whole new meaning to the dating game. Christine.
Christine Kernick, town of Milton resident.
Good and loud for us.
Christine Kernick, town of Milton resident, but on the board of the Ballston Spa BPA. Just a couple of quick notes in regards to the Wiswall Park renovation. I do agree that having a rendering is really helpful for our farmers. It's for anybody who's really using the park to actually be able to visualize how it all comes together. And it also helps us look at what is it going to look like as far as visibility for, like when people are coming into town, we want people to be able to see past the shrubs on the side and see what's going on. So to us, the visibility was very important. And also, you know, we're happy to share out, once you folks put it public, we're happy to share it out with our membership as well, and any of the farmers that seem to be the people who are most interested in it. And then in regards to, Nathan put a lot of work into figuring out where farmers and whatnot would go. But there's there's other impacts of, other events that go on. So I think having that rendering, I learned a lot about architecture and rendering while my kid was in school. The renderings really help you get a real live, like you can visualize yourself and immerse yourself in the image. So I think having the renderings would be helpful.
Did George do architecture?
No, my other son did.
Gotcha. I'm
having a terrible time.
You're fine. We lost the version that had the tape on it, so don't worry about that. But thank you very much, and thanks for all you do.
Good luck.
Chris?
Chris Buke, 6 Kaling Drive. I just want to reference an email that was sent out to both Trustee Baskin and Trustee Raymond from the Park and Tree Board. I'm just a little bit confused what the confusion is here about opening these plans up to the public, because this was addressed back on, this email was sent January 18th. Let me just quickly go through it with you, seeing how you must have glossed over it. It says, hello, everyone. The Park and Tree Board invites you to come to the library next week to look over a large rendition of the plans from Studio A we are finalizing for Wiswell Park. We want as many as can to come to one of 2 meetings to get public input on this important part of our downtown. If you really can't make either of them, please email me back and I can be available at another time. But I have reserved the library room downstairs so we can lay out the drawings and pictures. The 2 meetings will be on Tuesday, January 23rd and Thursday, January 25th, both at 6 p.m. This will probably be one of the last chances to see the plans up close before they are presented to the village board in February. They will be presented, then will be voted upon at a subsequent meeting so we can go on to the next phase of planning, figuring out costs, grants, etc. If you're on the Park and Tree Board, you don't have to come. Lastly, please, if you're part of an organization, forward this to your members as soon as you can. Rotary, Garden Club, Lions, Elks, BSBPA, etc. Please email me if you will be attending a meeting Tuesday or Thursday so that I can contact you if needed. Can somebody please forward this to Trustee Bush? I'm looking forward to the next phase, so let's get this approved. I did send back an email as I could not make it to the 23rd. I plan on making it to the 25th, and unfortunately, there just was not a lot of attendance at the 23rd. So the meeting was canceled for the 25th. So this has been put forth before the public. I mean, they were given quite a bit of an opportunity. So I can understand, I mean, you're raising your voice. You're pretty frustrated as if this is being kept secret from the public. But that is not the case. And I want to go on record. And you were included on this email. So I don't know where the confusion is to where this is thought that this is being held from the public. I mean, you got the village clerk sliding their chair away from him because you're getting pretty aggressive over there. When this was clearly stated in an email that you were included on. So I would hope that this board of trustees will be a little bit more in tune to the emails that Park and Tree and the Friends of Wiswell are sending out to you. So you're aware of what we are presenting to the public. We're keeping nothing from the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Let's go to Zoom. Nathan up top there, is that what I'm reading? Go ahead, Nathan.
Hi, Nathan Ward, 1 Hyde Boulevard. I'm just going to talk about a little bit about the park. I've been talking to Dana, and Liz mentioned the comments that we had. Dana went on vacation before she was able to email them out. But just to double reiterate them, the biggest comments we had was not the trees, but the bushes on Walnut, the Walnut Street. We want to be able for the vendors, they park on Walnut and then they unload their car there. So if the bushes are in the way to get to the park, that's our concern. The trees is not the problem, it's the bushes. The other one is the path that Liz mentioned from, we're going to say Front Street Deli to the center of the park. That path is a big green space that the vendors could use if the path wasn't there. And I did on my dimension diagram, I hashed those squares that the vendors could use if the path wasn't there. And I believe it's 3 or 4. Yeah, it's 3 vendor spots that could be used if the path was not there. So those are the 2 big comments. The spring is in a small enough as shown on the diagram that you could fit vendors around it. So that's not a concern with moving the spring in the corner of the park. So after those comments are adjudicated, I think the BSBPA would be, this would be a good plan for the design of the park. And I think the next step would be to put it out to the public on, the website, social media, so you get the public's input. I understand that it was at a meeting that this diagram was presented, but not everyone can make meetings in person. So before we spend more money, we should know that this design, this layout is good enough. And that's it.
Okay, thanks, Nathan. Up next is that, I'm gonna guess it might be Zlata Foreman, if my memory serves from the meeting, the sidewalk workshop we had. Let's see if I'm correct. Whoever is behind this mystery number, please unmute and identify yourself.
Hi, I'm Paul Ferguson on
Oh, see, wrong. Paul, go ahead. Sorry about that.
two things. One, Frank, on open mic night for the poetry, you don't have to read your own poem. You can
Thank
touch your heartstrings and come read it. And the second one, and we might have covered this, and I think I might have lost it through the back and forth. Whether it's the 3D rendering or the one that the BSPPA has seen now, when can I expect to see the plan for Wiswald Park published on the website?
Well, presentation is April 8th by Jeff, so you'll have a meeting showing it, and then right after that, we'll probably get all the materials he gives us for that meeting posted up, also any presentation he has. So, and as I said earlier, that we'll attempt to get some kind of stand outside for Wiswald Park itself to put as much of the materials as we can in that kind of like a plexiglass or plastic encasement for people to look at, and get a QR code out there as well as my goal, so that we have a Google form or something to give opinions right on their phone.
Great, thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
No problem. Thank you.
Your address, please?
Yeah, Paul, what's your address? Sorry.
89 Grove Street.
Thank you, Paul. Okay, anybody else? Seeing none, it's time for other business, including but not limited to board response to public comment. I kind of responded as we went along tonight because there were some direct questions, so I'll open up to anybody else. Go ahead.
I guess I'll address the comment that was directed to me. I think Nathan Moore probably said it in a nutshell, is that, obviously, yes, there was public meetings, and as it stated in the email, there was going to be a final rendering presented to the board, which I couldn't make the meetings, and I certainly was waiting for the final rendering. And if I appear aggressive, I'm passionate about our general public and their rights being observed. And I'm passionate about government being transparent. And it seems when you don't even want to put a concept plan, which is considered a final layout, as a public document, just to see good, bad, or indifferent what people think, I don't understand it. There's nothing logical about it. To think that people may not be able to understand it is an assumption, just purely assumption. It's not a fact. So I think it's important that we get as much input as public input as possible. And I wish it had been done 2 weeks ago. For the life of me, I have no understanding why it wasn't, because essentially it's a public document when it was at the meeting. I just don't understand what the holdup is.
Thank you. Anybody else?
One question I have is, where are we with the sewer in the park? Is that still a wild card in terms of design, or are we basically taking, Jeff, the landscape architect said it's a non-issue because we can always put an iron pipe under there and it's not a
No,
problem?
you're not gonna put an iron pipe under there. That's gonna cost 7 times the cost of PVC. There's no way that would be cost effective at all to do that. The answer is essentially there's nothing that would be going over it that would be, let's say, detrimental or non-movable if we ever did do something like that. But we're going to try to avoid it still, whatever we do. The most likely result based on costs that we've been discussing with Labella probably is to replace the stone portion of the pipe, maintain the clay, because there's no reason necessarily to get rid of the clay. But the stone would be the concern. Get manholes in place finally to get correct access if there's ever an issue, and kind of modify it in that manner as it lays currently. So that would probably be, and they're working on that possibility and pricing it out and everything else because of some of the other wild pricing that we got back. Ultimately, that's why I say then if you threw iron pipe on top of that, it'd be $300,000 just to move the sewer pipe.
But that work should happen this year, right?
That's what we're looking at.
Right.
Obviously, we'll get to the end of the season type of situation so that we're not, again, disrupting the
Okay.
park. And then once things
Alright.
calm down for the park.
And you've seen where the pavilion is, so the pavilion is not in the
Well,
way,
Do you even call that pavilion what's on the newest plan? It's more or less a gazebo.
or gazebo.
Yeah, that's why I want to, because there
It's
was,
big though,
a-
it's like 25 feet
but there
around.
was a pavilion, a formalized pavilion at one point on one of those plans. So that's why I want to make sure we're talking about the same thing. Correct, yes, I have.
It's out of the way.
Or it's not going to pose something that would make it impossible to fix a pipe.
All right, so people, because people wonder.
Yeah.
The sewer will be done this year
That's the goal, yeah.
and it doesn't impact, the diagram is congruent or okay
Yeah, we
with
got
that
Labella
plan.
on about 13 different projects right now. That is one of them still, so.
Right, but we don't have to alter the diagram for that project.
No, that's
Right.
not in a likelihood right now, no.
All right, great, thank
Hope
you
that was
for
helpful.
that.
No problem.
Is there any sense of what the timing is of the Route 50 crosswalk?
They were discussing just today the Union Fire Company apron issues that DOT raised, because DOT was essentially saying, make it ADA compliant despite the fact it's not ADA compliant currently, and the roads pitch is what creates the issue. And so, Labella was going to discuss with them the impossibility aspect of things, and I asked them to raise with the person they were speaking with today, because this is the same person that would have some authority over that project as well. I've got to get feedback to see if they got any clearance or anything from him, because they are frustrated as well that we have not gotten final approval or the comments you would expect back. This should be nothing more than, yeah, moving it should be okay, but they won't give us that go ahead. And again, we don't have full jurisdiction because it's a state route and it's outside the parameters of what they suggested in the first place slightly.
Like you started with the sidewalk, did you end with the crosswalk?
Yeah, that's the crosswalk is what they were going to talk with him about also today, because. I
So we
raised
still
that.
we did not get approval from DOT?
Yeah, so Sean will probably tell you offline, getting comments right now from DOT can be a little bit of a work hazard right now.
Because you spent some time, there was some time spent not submitting the permit in order to get it to where they gave you sort of a pre-green light before you even turn it in. So shouldn't it be like smooth sailing, or what? Are there more
You
issues?
would hope so, Ben. I talked directly with people in there and said, hey, where are we with that? We'll get back to you. Never got back. I reached out to Guy Tedisco myself, who is the Region 1 director up there for these purposes.
Permit engineer.
Thank you. And he didn't return my call, but he was working with Labella, so I didn't tell him he had to call me back, but I just made an appeal that, hey, we do need some comments on this. They did get comments back on the apron because of traffic control, it might be necessary there. And again, I said, hey, while you've got him in your grasp, please discuss that with him as well. So I'll make sure that they did do so. I didn't get a chance to confirm that today.
So you explained that apron has some issues. Isn't the crosswalk straightforward?
Ben, we don't have jurisdiction over Route 50.
Right, but have they told you any complications?
They
They
just haven't given
gotten
us an
back to you.
approval.
Right, they just
Correct.
haven't got back to you.
Yeah, so
Okay.
that's the issue. I would love to go and pitch the sidewalk for ADA and let them say, go ahead, guys, go do the thing you got to do now.
Right.
Put the crosswalk in, put the signs up. But they haven't gotten us that yet.
So one thing I'd like to suggest, just for us to think about, given how long things have taken or do take, it's like 2 years, is potentially putting in our budget money for us to put in the crosswalk sign, the what is it, flashing signs, rather than waiting for DOT to do another study and then.
That's
figure
not
out-
our option. We don't have that right. That is a
I thought-
DOT state highway. We
When-
do
when
not have
I-
that right. It was not.
What would have to happen is A, you would have to satisfy the warrant for it, and B, if we put them in, we would be responsible for maintaining them in perpetuity.
Do we have to satisfy a warrant if we put them in?
They don't have to keep them there.
You don't have to satisfy the warrant
If we put them in?
if you put them in.
Right.
That means
We
would be
maintain them.
responsible for maintaining. them.
Right, yeah. So that seemed like, that seems like a, option potentially. Like, I mean, from talking to DOT way back when, it seemed like an option.
I don't know if Jeff has solar / electrical background. I don't know if we have any staff to maintain it. So we would have to probably contract out maintenance.
And I think the reaction generally is, I don't want DOT coming onto our streets telling us what to do necessarily, although they get some ability in intersections, obviously, but I don't think they want us coming and telling them what to do with their streets or taking control of their street in that manner.
Well, obviously we need permission to do it. I just trying to move this along.
I would say with the new initiatives coming out, it's probably gonna happen anyways, so there's probably no need for us to spend the money.
Okay. All right, that's good to
I
know.
would agree with you there.
I just, as.
I didn't want to say that out loud, but
Yeah.
you're gonna say
Oh,
it.
come on.
I mean, and Bernadette, you've actually mentioned this before, where there is a concern, you have the ramps in, but no flashing, no warning signs, and there's a matter of timing where people are now using the crosswalk, but there's not enough, there's no warning to the cars that, oh, there's now a crosswalk.
Well, this is the reason we're moving it to the south, because there was a tree in the way, and so you've got a glorified version of Frogger you're playing if there's no visibility by that tree when it's in full bloom. And so that's why when we went out on the
Oh,
field.
yeah,
with
yeah, no,
ourselves,
it's in a
like,
good place.
let's get it over here where at least there's visibility coming around that
But to
curve.
put a crosswalk with ramps in and not have the flashing beacon or something is risky. But I guess that it's, the order is what it is. That's,
Yeah, we won't know.
Yeah.
yeah.
Mary, Bernadette, your turns, if you have anything. Thank you.
Just to follow up on what some people have said, and Sean, you know, since the diagram's already been presented to the public and people are asking for it, and I haven't heard of any negative to just letting people see it. If people want to see it, they can just contact me or anybody here and I'll just email it to you. I mean, there's no negative to doing that. So, understanding it's a draft. It is a draft. So, so if you're curious, it is a public document.
We good? So can I get a motion that the vouchers be audited, the meeting be adjourned at 8:34 p.m.? Trustee Fandesa? Trustee Price Bush, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Everybody, good night. We'll see you in 2 weeks. 8:34 p.m.
Maybe put like a little thing in there that says if you want to post something in the community board, this is who you contact. There's only one thing in there, I'm like, it's branding.